Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his resignation in the face of rising discontentment over his leadership.
Austria's president gave far-right Freedom Party leader Herbert Kickl the green light to attempt to form a new government.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his resignation in the face of rising discontentment over his leadership. Trudeau said internal battles meant that he cannot be the best option in the next election, but says he plans to stay on as Prime Minister until a new leader of the Liberal Party is chosen.
Last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
Trudeau came to power in 2015 and had initially been hailed for returning the country to its Liberal past. But the 53-year-old scion of one of Canada's most famous prime ministers became deeply unpopular with voters in recent years over a range of issues including the soaring cost of food and housing and surging migration.
Austrian President Alexander van der Bellen gave the green light for far-right Freedom Party leader Herbert Kickl to attempt to form a new government. The two met in Vienna on Monday, a few days after Chancellor Karl Nehammer's ruling party failed to form a coalition.
Herr Kickl traut sich zu, im Rahmen von Regierungsverhandlungen tragfähige Lösungen zu finden, und er will diese Verantwortung. Ich habe ihn das explizit gefragt.
Several hundred protesters gathered outside the Austrian president's office to demonstrate against a possible far-right-led government.
Ich habe mir diesen Schritt nicht leicht gemacht. Ich werde auch weiterhin darauf achten, dass die Prinzipien und Regeln unserer Verfassung korrekt beachtet und eingehalten werden.
Kickl's FPÖ won the September election, but Nehammer's People's Party was initially given the mandate to govern, after other parties refused to govern with the FPÖ. After Nehammer's resignation, the People's Party signaled it could be open to working under Kickl. While talks between the two parties are not guaranteed to succeed, there are no viable alternative coalition options in the current parliament.
Since Germany's government alliance has collapsed, the country is heading for elections in a fragmented political landscape. The dynamics are shifting strongly as support for Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition of SPD, Greens and FDP declines. Polls show the CDU-CSU leading, with party dominating voter preferences. The far-right AfD, which is now the second largest opposition, continues to gain traction with Alice Weidel as its chancellor candidate. However, the AfD remains isolated, with mainstream parties refusing any coalition. On the left, Sarah Wagenknecht's newly formed BSW is appealing to discontented voters, further splitting the political field as her party already positioned ahead of the liberal FDP in the European elections. Vice-Chancellor Robert Habeck has also joined the race for Chancellor, but the Greens are struggling after the coalition's collapse. As elections near, no party approaches an absolute majority. Polls suggest the CDU-CSU is best positioned to lead a coalition, likely with the Greens or SPD, as the FDP risks falling below the 5% threshold needed to secure seats in the Bundestag. Voter dissatisfaction with the current coalition has deepened amid economic and social challenges, and now Germany's proportional system hints at prolonged negotiations to form a stable government.
Ukraine launched a new assault into Russia's Kursk region 5 months after Kyiv's surprise incursion into Russia's border area. The first reports came in overnight on Sunday from Russian mill bloggers who said that Moscow troops came under heavy pressure. Russia's defense ministry later announced that its forces were repelling the attacks. The Russian statement said Ukraine attacked early in the morning near the village of Berdin with 2 tanks, a mine-clearing vehicle and 12 armored combat vehicles with paratroops. Now, the Institute for the Study of War says Ukrainian forces resumed offensive operations in at least 3 areas within the Ukrainian salient in Kursk region and made tactical advances. Based on the Russian Mill blogger's claims, Kyiv's troops conducted multiple attacks east and northeast of Sudzha, as well as southeast of Korineva. Geolocated footage published on the 5th of January indicates that Ukrainian forces advanced in fields southwest and south of Berdin and entered the southern part of the settlement. Kremlin-controlled Russian Mill bloggers largely expressed concerns that the renewed Ukrainian effort in Kursk may be a diversionary effort and claim that it is too early to determine whether these operations in Kursk could be part of a future main effort. Over the past few months, Russian forces have been trying to push Ukrainian troops out of its territory. Kyiv forces have allegedly lost up to half of the initially captured territory after Moscow sent more reinforcements to the area, including North Korean soldiers.
Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy's trial started on Monday over alleged illegal financing of his 2007 presidential campaign by the government of then Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. He faces charges of passive corruption, illegal campaign financing, concealment of embezzlement of public funds, and criminal association, punished by up to 10 years in prison. The so-called Libyan case emerged in March 2011, when a Libyan news agency reported that the Gaddafi government had financed Sarkozy's 2007 campaign. The next year, a French online news site published a document said to be a note from the Libyan secret services, mentioning Gaddafi's agreement to provide Sarkozy's campaign 15 million euros in financing. Sarkozy strongly rejected the accusations, calling the document a blatant fake and filing complaints for forgery, concealment, and spreading false news. Sarkozy has been convicted in 2 other scandals, but the Libyan case appears as the one most likely to significantly affect his legacy.
French President Emmanuel Macron extended an olive branch to US President-elect Donald Trump days before his inauguration, declaring France a solid ally as he outlined his vision for global diplomacy in 2025. Macron emphasized France's commitment to fostering cooperation while urging European nations to fortify their unity and resilience, saying there was little chance of being respected by the US if they decide to be weak and defeatist.
Président Trump sait qu'il a en France un allié solide, un allié qu'il ne mésestime pas, qui a des vues claires, qui croit dans l'Europe, qui a confiance en lui, qui porte une ambition pour la relation transatlantique, mais une ambition lucide. J'aurai l'occasion d'y revenir en regardant très clairement le fait que depuis 2011, les présidents américains successifs nous disent tous la même chose. Leur priorité est d'abord les États-Unis d'Amérique, puis la relation avec la Chine. L'Europe a un autre rang, une autre place.
Macron's speech laid out France's foreign policy priorities, spanning the war in Ukraine, European defence and the Middle East. He said, as Europeans, we cannot let Russia win in Ukraine, adding that there would not be an easy or rapid solution in the region. However, he also warned that Ukraine needed to have realistic discussions on territorial issues, urging Kyiv for the first time to consider territorial concessions.
Thousands of people have protested in Montenegro to demand the resignations of top security officials after 12 people were killed in a mass shooting on New Year's Day. Protesters staged dual rallies in the capital Podgorica and in the central town of Cetinje, where the shooting happened. Many residents of Cetinje believe the police mishandled the situation and haven't done enough to boost security since the first massacre in August 2022.
Došli smo ovdje da tražimo odgovor zbog čega se po drugi put desio masakr na Cetinju i zbog čega niko ne odgovara. Zbog čega je toliko teško podnijeti ostavku i zbog čega opet, nažalost, nećemo dobiti nikakav odgovor ko je odgovoran između stalog za.
The shooting on New Year's Day came after a bar brawl. A 45-year-old man went home to get his gun before returning to the bar and opening fire. He killed 4 people there and 8 others at various locations before killing himself. The massacre has raised questions about the readiness of state institutions to tackle the problems, including gun ownership. Police have said the shooting was impossible to predict, though the gunman, identified as Arko Martinovic, had been convicted for violent behaviour and illegal weapons possession. Authorities swiftly announced a new strict gun law and other tough measures to curb illegal weapons. On Sunday, police said they raided several locations in the country and confiscated around 20 weapons, more than 500 rounds of ammunition and explosives. Prime Minister Milojko Spajic promised draconian punishment for anyone who violates the new law.
The Christmas season came to a close on Monday with celebrations of Epiphany by Christian communities all over Europe. The Orthodox Christian tradition is marked by blessing of the water ceremonies, where swimmers rush to retrieve a cross thrown by a priest into the water. The tradition commemorating the baptism of Jesus Christ was observed in countries including Greece and Bulgaria. The religious holiday of Epiphany is also celebrated in some Western Christian churches as Three Kings Day, which marks the visit of the three wise men to the baby Jesus. Swimmers in Prague took to the icy waters to participate in the annual Three Kings swim. In the Vatican, the Pope presided over Mass in St. Peter's Basilica and spoke from the window of the Apostolic Palace to thousands of faithful gathered below. Other traditions included a Three Kings procession in the streets of Warsaw and Romania's annual horse race. In France, President Emmanuel Macron sliced a giant Epiphany cake, a tradition held at Élysée Palace since 1975.